Welcome, folks, to another episode of the Intuitive Websites Internet Marketing Podcast. Tom and I are here. We're going to take a look at what Mobilegeddon means. Yes, I know today is Earth Day, April 22nd, but April 21st was Mobilegeddon. Now, what exactly is Mobilegeddon? Well, that was when Google changed its algorithms to be mobile friendly. And if you were not mobile friendly, your website was then reduced in the SEO ranks. If you're on a mobile device, you can go on any of your mobile devices, pull it out, do a Google search and look. And what you'll see right underneath the link, it will say mobile friendly. I tried to do it on desktop. We don't have a screenshot for you because we don't have it on our desktops because it only shows up on the mobile version. But the point of this podcast is we want to get you ready to be able to face the surge of mobile websites and how to deal with those. So Tom, Mobilegeddon, talk to us about it. What do we do? How do we save ourselves from getting deleted from SEO?
Well, it's really interesting the way that you're approaching this, and I think a lot of folks have made a really big deal about the idea of Mobilegeddon and so forth. But I think we have to step back for a second, because why is this happening? And I think it's important to note it's happening because we're getting close to a major milestone, and that milestone is that more Google searches will come from mobile devices than desktop devices in the near future. They're at 48% right now. So almost half of all searches are done on phones. And Google defines a mobile device as a phone. So tablets are really considered like the laptop category. So this is all happening on phones. And part of the reason it's happening is because phones are getting bigger. And I guess at some point they may have to really define, is it a phone or a small tablet, right? But because of this trend, Google is starting to take search very seriously. And we've talked about this in other podcasts, is that, the biggest fear Google has is that people will stop using their search engine.
Right.
Well, if they don't get good searches in mobile, and if websites aren't appearing properly from search results in mobile, then folks might go to another search engine that does show mobile sites. So obviously what you have to do to prepare for this and deal with it is have a mobile-friendly website. And it's a mobile-friendly website by Google standards. Now, the good news is Google has put out a tool, which we'll have in the podcast link here, that allows you to go and test your site to see if it's mobile-friendly. And basically, you'll want to do one of two things. Either have a responsive website, which we've talked about in the podcast before, that modifies itself to different screen sizes, or have a mobile-only site, which is a site that displays on mobile phones, and it can detect the phone coming in and then displays. Now, there's two ways to do a mobile site. You can do a mobile site that has its own URL and has its own unique content, and there's really two websites. Or you can have your current site modify itself to mobile. And that's really the best way to go, because you don't want to get in trouble with Google as far as duplicate content and duplicate websites, which is still an issue.
And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about responsive design. Is there an example that you can show? Because I know the Intuitive Websites website is adaptive and it's got responsive design. Can you show us a screenshot of that, Tom?
Sure, let's take a look. So this is our website. And you can see this is what it looks like on my laptop, which I'm basically looking at it on the screen here. But if there was a different size screen showing this site, well, then the site would have to modify itself. And so let's say it's a smaller screen. Well, you can see the site is starting to modify itself for a smaller screen. Let's say it's maybe an iPad. It's going to be smaller, so the site modifies itself. But if you scroll down, all the content is there. It's just rearranged itself. But we can even go smaller than this. Let's say it's a phone. The phone, and this would be the smallest version of the site, and this is what you would see on a phone. And you can see the menu system collapsed. You can see that everything below is still there, but it modified itself so that it displays properly. And the key thing here is you have to really set up your graphics so that they look good when they are modified. And so you can't use big circular graphics, and you can't use photos that are set up to not modify themselves with the changing look. And that's responsive. Now, mobile is a completely different thing. A mobile site would not modify itself. A mobile site would be basically a completely new look at this. It may just have navigation items. It may have a few icons. It may not have a picture and so forth. But the key thing that Google's looking for here is that it's mobile friendly, and it's not a duplicate website with duplicate content, because that's kind of what spammers would do. So it's important that you follow these guidelines and set these things up, and realize that you're going to get traffic from mobile. And in our clients, we see anywhere from 50% of traffic to as low as maybe 10 or 15% coming from mobile devices. And that's just critical, and it's continuing to grow. And so we're feeling like you have to cover your bases, because you don't want 15% of your visitors to not have a good site experience, and you don't want to be penalized in those 15% of searches or more for your site. And like I said, some of the sites that we manage have as much as 50% of their traffic coming from mobile.
Now, something that comes up, though, mobile sites, and I have yet to see any mobile site that looked good. Like, you'd get a really great looking website on a desktop or a laptop computer, and when you go to mobile, it automatically logs you into mobile, and it's a terrible experience. And most of the time, I find the things that I specifically need aren't in the mobile site. It's kind of like your website light. It's the light version of your website.
That's a really good way to put it. And in fact, to get an idea of what Glenn just said, for anyone who's listening out there, is to go to the big websites like Amazon, eBay, some of the major resellers, and look around on the phone and how they set themselves up on a phone versus a computer. Then you'll get an idea of how the industry leaders are really approaching mobile. Because what's happening here is they're realizing that people buy on their phones. And we see this, it still amazes me. We've had websites that aren't responsive design, that are still the standard traditional site. People are buying on their phones on those sites using tiny little fonts and tiny little links, and they're somehow getting their credit card number in there and doing it. So there's a strong desire from people to use their mobile devices to do everything that they used to do on their computers. In fact, I have friends who will go on a trip. They'll go on a vacation, or they'll go on a business trip, and only take their phone. And I always thought to myself, well, why don't you take your laptop? You need to check your email, right? And they said, oh, I could do all that on my phone. So they just only take their phone. They travel light. Everything they need is in their pocket. So if they need to place an order on an e-commerce site, they're going to want to do that on their phone.
Right. And that's really, I think, the difference that our listeners and viewers need to really put into practice is, what type of experience do you want to give them? I know if I'm browsing websites on my phone, I want the website to look like it's going to look on my desktop, because then I can really get a feel for what that company's like, or that business is like.
Absolutely. And it even goes one step further than that, because you have to now make Google happy. and Google has had this thing for a long time that they call page authority. And there's a lot of mystery around page authority and how it works. And it used to be very simple in that if you had a lot of links coming into your site, you'd have higher page authority. But I'm going to predict here that Google will incorporate mobile friendliness into their page authority linking, which is very different than like SEO for a keyword, or SEO in your title tags, meta description, website copy. This is part of page authority, which basically tells Google that you're a site that needs to be ranked ahead of competitors, because you've got your act together. Not only do you have links coming in, but you're mobile friendly, and you're really playing by the Google rules. So that's a key part of this as well.
Now, I was reading in TechCrunch yesterday, they were having the big article and saying, they were saying over half of the Fortune 500 companies aren't ready for this. They don't have mobile friendly sites. So they're not prepared for the change that Google's implemented. And, first thing that as I'm reading, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I know that one of my websites is not mobile friendly. And am I going to get docked? That's the big thing, is, am I going to lose search rankings and my organic search, which I'm up in several areas, I'm number one. Am I going to lose that because of that? And in the article, they said it only applies to searching on mobile devices. It does not apply to searching on desktop. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, here's the thing with Google, okay? And I've said this in other podcasts. I don't think Google knows exactly how their code works. I mean, it's very complicated what they've created over the last 15 years. And my thought is that I think it will impact overall search, because I think it's going to fold into page authority. And if it starts to become an authority issue with how Google ranks your site overall, then I think it will matter. And that's on top of the fact that you're going to have people searching for you on their mobile devices anyway, and you want to be found for those searches. Web marketing is such an interesting thing. And Glenn, we've talked about this over the years. It happens in a vacuum. It's invisible to us. So we ask that question, well, is it really going to impact me? And a lot of times we really don't even know if it's going to impact us, and our business might plug along just fine. But the way I define it is it's missed opportunities. We're not in front of some people, so that's a potential opportunity you're missing. And so we encourage our clients to cover these bases. Like, do you have to be set up with the latest and greatest social media website that just came out and has 1 million users? Well, maybe not, right? But this is a big one. This is one that you do have to cover your bases on. And it also is a way that Google is putting more prominence on Google Plus and on Webmaster Tools, which is part of the Google empire, and part of the way Google wants to get a stronger customer base, because Google Plus is also a very important factor in mobile search. And Google Plus is part of Google Maps. It's part of your local Google profile. And that all displays in local searches on phones as well. And then Webmaster Tools is critical, because you have to use Webmaster Tools to go and find out if you're being found in Google, and to run tests and communicate back and forth with Google. So it's part of a bigger picture.
Let's talk about something really quick that kind of quell some concerns, because the big thing, like I said, my inbox was getting blown up through marketing profs, from all the marketing channels saying, if you're not mobile friendly, you're going to be hosed. This is what it is. But reading that article in TechCrunch, it was like, if you are not, you have to look at your analytics. First and foremost, look at your analytics. It's like, because the first thing I'm thinking is, I got to call Tom. I got to go, hey, can we get some people on here to change this now, so I'm not losing anything? I looked up into the analytics, and I looked and realized that 90% of my web traffic comes from a desktop.
Yes.
And then I have about 6% comes from mobile, 4% from a tablet.
Right.
And so if I break that down and look at it from that perspective, the majority of my clients are not coming from a mobile device. Now,
That's right.
That being said, I guess it gives me a little more time. It doesn't give me, hey, do this today and you have to stop everything and do it. It's something that needs to be corrected in the next 30 days, but it's not something that has to stop the presses, get something else done.
Exactly. And B2B businesses like yours, where folks are doing research on you and they're working in an office, like I said, they might see that 10 to 15% visits from mobile. But it's part of the web marketing strategy of covering your bases. It's the same type of question of, well, should I have a Facebook business account, or should I have a Google Plus business account? Yeah. Well, yeah, because the numbers are starting to approach these quantities that you want to take seriously and have covered. But I think it even goes a little bit further than that, because I do think that once you've engaged with a client, and that client's going to refer you to someone, or do some more homework on you, or go look something up on their phone, and you come up and your site's optimized, you're reinforcing your brand to those clients. You're making it easier for them to refer you and look good when they refer you, because they can say, wow, look, see, I just sent Glenn's website to a friend of mine. I texted the URL. They opened it up on their phone. They saw Glenn had a mobile ready phone. This guy's got his act together. You got to talk to Glenn. If that happens once over the course of the year, then you've paid for your investment and your time to get this going. And that's for you as a small business owner, right? But imagine a larger company where that happens times 1,000. And people are constantly referring websites back and forth and that sort of thing. And we know from user testing that people have such low patience when they look at websites, and they look at them on any device. So if a website doesn't appeal to them in the first 15 seconds of their experience, they're out of there. And that's branding too. That's a brand impression.
So what do our listeners and viewers need to do? What action items do they have for this, Tom?
Well, I think the number one thing is to go and spend some time on the Google links that are on our podcast. Find out if your site's mobile friendly. Go and look at the developers section on google.com, where it's very easy to understand, actually, if you start reading this. And you'll see some of the common mistakes made around mobile sites. You also want to be very clear about the duplicate content issue. So some folks may have had a mobile site developed a few years ago, but it's using different content, or it may be using duplicate content. You need to know what's going on with that. And I think that it's real important that you get this done. It's got to be part of your web marketing budget. And you're right, Glenn, if it's 50% of your traffic, then you're in big trouble if you haven't done it yet. If it's 10, 15% of your traffic, then it's just something you need to get done eventually and check it off your to-do list. Make sure Webmaster Tools is set up. Make sure you have one Google Plus account. If you have more than one Google Plus account, you need to consolidate those. And you can find out if you have more than one Google Plus account by doing a search in Google Plus for your company name and then click on View All. And you'll be surprised. I mean, we have clients on a regular basis that have 4 or 5 Google Plus accounts and had no idea. What'll happen is all those will be indexed in local search, and people will be seeing out-of-date phone numbers, out-of-date addresses, out-of-date maps, and so forth. And then I think probably one of the best things you can do is go to the Google checklist, which is on our podcast, and run through the checklist from Google and make sure your bases are covered. And let's get through this major update from Google and move on to better rankings for your website.
Wonderful, Tom. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us again for the Intuitive Websites Internet Marketing Podcast. I'm Glenn Thayer. Thanks.